and welcome back to the special edition of the Performance Injury Report. We're doing a Thursday edition of Pats playing tonight against the Rams and with fantasy playoffs here. Giving you a quick preview of what's to come this coming weekend. I'm joined, as always, by Dr. Mark Casimiro. What's going on, Mark?
What's up, Nick? Happy Thursday, bud.
Happy Thursday. I'm excited for the game tonight. How about you?
What that day again, Nick?
But I'm ready for the game tonight. How about you?
Nice, very nice. I just have your generic disposable one today, but I like that. That's a good one. Early Christmas gift.
Oh yeah, no, I've had this one since summertime, baby.
Nice.
Looks good. It's like a make or break game tonight. I feel like if the Pats win, they're in the driver's seat. I do feel like they have to win out. Possibly, I guess they could lose maybe one, but if they win out, I think they have like a 95% chance of making the playoffs. So I think if they do lose one down the stretch, it's going to make it very difficult. They're going to make it very difficult on themselves. But let's jump into it. There's the Pats have 14 guys that are questionable, a bunch on the defensive side of the ball. You got Kyle Duggar, Juwan Bentley, J.C. Jackson. On offense, you got the tight end Izzo. So it looks like the rookie Dalton Keene's going to go. Anything that really jumps out at you from the Pats game tonight to look for injury-wise? That's gonna. I doubt people have very many fantasy players going. Maybe some. Maybe Damian Harris for the Pats. Maybe some receivers, or even maybe Goff, maybe Cam Akers on the Rams. But I think from a fantasy perspective, from a short week, this isn't a huge game fantasy wise for some people. But is there anything that you're going to be looking at tonight for the Pats or the Rams?
Yeah, I think from the Pats standpoint, I think kind of helping what we were talking about before we came on live, the Patriots. Oh God, let's try that again. The Patriots defense and special teams did really well last week. I think you said they got you close to 40 points in our performance league, fantasy league. So I think there's more important injuries on the defensive side with J.C. Jackson and some of the defensive backs that went down after Sunday's game. I think that's going to be more important because, we know that the Patriots offense is what it is. And they struggle to put up some points. So I think continue to focus in on the defensive team and the special teams trying to help the offense out. And I think those two injuries to J.C. Jackson and Stephon Gilmore, amongst other guys. I think Bentley is on the injured list too, one of the 14 guys that you mentioned. So those things stick out to me a little bit more, and especially coming off a short week, really hard in the NFL to recover after Sunday. You only have really 3 days to kind of recover, and a lot of times we'll see those Thursday night games don't really live up to some of the hype just because the guys are kind of still beat up and you don't have all your roster of players. And of course, this year is a little bit different because you got the pandemic going on and more, NFL players are missing time because of COVID-19. So I think the defensive side of the Patriots is a little bit more concerning, I guess, is what I would say. And I don't know if it's going to be one of those things where maybe we see J.C. Jackson and Stephon Gilmore not starting, but maybe they're in a limited role and maybe checking their snap count. Or maybe the thought is that they don't start at all and try to save them. Hopefully see what you can do tonight and save them for the last 3 weeks of the season because you're definitely going to need them going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. The Rams have, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. They have some weapons out there, Higbee and whatnot. But you have the Pats with the number 3 rushing offense in the league going up against the Rams with the number 3 rush defense in the league. So that's really what I'm going to be looking at. If the Pats can run the ball, I think Rams are number 1 against the pass. And, Cam Newton hasn't looked great throwing the ball. So I think this is going to be a run-heavy game, and we'll be looking to see what Damian Harris, James White, Sony Michel, those backs can do. That's what I'm going to be looking for. So, like I said, I think the Pats kind of will be in the driver's seat if they can pull out this win. I don't think they're favored to win in Vegas, but we'll see. Belichick on a short week, I'm always riding with him. All right, let's talk about some fantasy guys coming up. If you were lucky enough to make the playoffs, or maybe you have a first round bye, these are some guys that maybe you have on your bench or are stashing for the next week, or maybe you need them for this week. So let's start with Chris Godwin, coming off a bye, he had some pins removed from his finger. So talk about that. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to pad him up? Put something on that finger, put a glove over it, and he's going to be able to go out there and catch some balls, or is he not going to be able to contribute this much, and he's going to be out there more like a decoy? What are your thoughts on him?
I think you're good to start him. I mean, I think if the pins came out, they can do a couple different things. They could just tape it and then put a glove over top of it. They could give him like a special pad to kind of protect it a little bit if it's a little sensitive still. They could splint it and then put a glove on it. So there's a lot of different things they could do in terms of protecting that area. I think, in terms of he's probably going to feel better getting the pins out. He's going to have a little bit more range of motion, probably not as stiff and not as painful. So I think he's good to go. I think if you have him, if you've been doing well with him, try to ride with him if depending what your other options are. But I think he'll be out there, and I think he'll be able to contribute on the offensive side of the ball for the Bucs.
Well, that's good news for anybody who has him out there. I mean, I feel like that whole receiving core has been banged up. You've had basically Mike Evans with a hamstring injury all year long that he's played through every game he's been out there. You've had Godwin with the finger. Then they bring in Antonio Brown, and that team on a whole has had its, ups and downs. But I know they'll be looking to bounce back, get another W, going forward. All right, let's talk about another guy I feel we've talked about every week this year almost, and that's running back Christian McCaffrey. Few things in this situation. So he's got the shoulder he's coming back from. Now you have the coach says that he's got a thigh issue and that it tightened up on him in practice. So he's got a shoulder and a thigh. The other thing on top of that is doesn't look like the Panthers are going to be making the playoffs. You've got this guy who you gave a huge contract to. Is there, are they going to risk putting him out there and getting further injured, getting injured further in a season that's kind of gotten away from them? And, they're not going to be making a push for the playoffs. So is there a chance if you were able to sneak into the playoffs with him on your roster, even though, he hasn't contributed much for you? Like, hats off to you for doing that in the first place, because you probably had the number one pick that went down and didn't really help. If you were able to sneak into the playoffs with him on your bench, is he going to be able to contribute for you in the playoffs? Or is this one of those things where if he's taken up some valuable bench space that like you almost have to cut ties with him if you don't have enough room, or if you don't have an IR spot to stash him in? What are your thoughts on him, Mark?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it's just one of those things that just has not been his year, right? I mean, he started off so well in the beginning of the year, and then he's had that, that shoulder injury is still that sternoclavicular joint injury, which originally, when we talked about it a couple weeks ago, I had said, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I think Tyreek Hill missed around 3 weeks last year when he had that similar type of injury. So that complicates things. And then last week on the bye, it looks like he was working out on his own, and he, tweaked his quad, and it tightened up on him. So that's a little bit concerning. I don't honestly. If I'm the athletic trainer and I'm the physical therapist, I'm telling the team, I'm telling the doctors, like I think we sit him the rest of the year and just kind of cut our, not cut our losses. We're not going to get rid of him. Obviously, he's the face of the franchise. But I think you're not going anywhere this year. Why were you going to put him out there? If he goes out there Sunday and he hurts his quad, well, now that's going to affect his ability to rehab and recover over the offseason. I think if you're the Panthers, you want to start fresh next year. You want him at 120% if you can get him there. So I would say don't start him. I don't think he's going to be a viable option for you in the playoffs these next couple weeks, just because of that kind of quad injury that kind of showed up on the injury report this week. It doesn't look good, and you can't really mess with those types of muscle injuries. He takes one cut in the wrong direction or has to kind of stop and start. That thing, strains on him. He has a more serious injury. Now you're looking at more timeout, and that's going to affect him in his offseason. So I don't think it's going to look good for Sunday. I think you get more information on Friday. So depending on how he practices or how he feels tomorrow, will dictate what happens on Sunday a little bit. But I wouldn't expect much change on that. Given the information that we have now, I wouldn't expect much change on that.
Well, you heard it. You heard it here.
Sorry, I wish I had better news. I wish I had better news to the Christian McCaffrey people out there.
You know what? You've been
but
doing.
I've been wrong. I've been wrong many times. Many times. My wife would tell you I'm wrong all the time. So,
well, I mean, if you were able to make the playoffs, you've been doing it all year without him. You know, it's one of those things where I know it's like that nice little gift or present you have stashed away that you feel like you're going to be able to pull out and going to get you over that hump in the playoffs. But it looks like you're going to have to keep doing what you've been doing all season long, and you're going to have to roll without him. And that's okay. Like I said, you already made it this far, which is a feat in itself. All right, we're sticking with some more running backs. We got Antonio Gibson. Last Monday, leaves the game in the first quarter with turf toe, visibly hobbling. We talked about it. I know you talked about that you have him, but you're on bye this week. So he looks doubtful for this week. Is this something that next week in the semis, or if you're lucky enough to make it even further to the finals, to the championship, that he's going to be able to contribute? We've seen turf toe in the past, and it's usually ugly. It's usually one of those things that you kind of see linger, and you see these guys not being able to contribute for a while. What are your thoughts on Antonio Gibson?
Yeah, fun fact about turf toe, that was the injury that ended Deion Sanders' career. So, I mean, he had chronic turf toe towards the end of his career, and it was just one of those things where he didn't have the same kind of push off and the same athletic ability because of the toe. Everyone kind of jokes about the toe injuries, but turf toe is a serious thing. If you've ever had a friend or yourself, have turf toe or a toe injury, the big toe is really important when we're walking, when we're running, sprinting, all those things. That big toe does a lot of functioning for the foot. If you don't have a good functioning toe, you can't really perform at a high level, and it can be really, really painful. I don't think that Gibson's going to be able to contribute much this week. I think moving forward, it depends how the It depends how the Washington football team does this weekend. If they win, because the NFC East is what's the best way to say this, Nick? What's the most professional way? The NFC East isn't the most
competitive.
It is competitive.
Yeah, it is competitive.
You might get in the playoffs with a 7-9 record or a 6-10 record in that league. So if they win this week, I would expect him to really make a push to try to play in subsequent weeks. They can do some steroid injections. They can tape that toe up. They can put some padding on it. I just don't know how reliable he's going to be and how useful he's going to be. He might be kind of on the field as kind of a decoy. Maybe he gets 15 to 20 touches a game, but I wouldn't expect much with the turf toe unless there's some type of miraculous turnaround in the next week or two. So again, we'll have to wait for more information. I think he's not going to contribute much this weekend. So I think he'll probably be on the injury report again next week, and maybe we can touch base about it next week as we get more info.
That sounds good. Hey, I did have a question come in. Somebody texted me on the side.
Sure.
So you have John Connor coming off a COVID list.
Yep.
And then you also got Cam Akers going tonight, who's got a designation with a shoulder. He's probably going to play. You got Cam Akers going up against the Pats D. You got John Connor. Actually, I'm not sure who Pittsburgh is playing this week. What are your thoughts on running back coming off of COVID?
I think the biggest thing, he shouldn't have a problem. It's not like he's coming back from some type of like muscle injury or joint injury, which is going to limit, his ability to cut, come out of his breaks when he's a receiver, do those types of things that he has to do. I think if anything, and I don't know as much about this, is it going to be more for football coaches and stuff like that? It might be a timing thing, but I think physically he'll be ready to go. And then you just never know what the Steelers offense, they can come out and throw 50, 60 times, and maybe Connor doesn't see as many touches as he normally does. I think from a COVID standpoint and injury standpoint, I think he's going to be fine out there physically, making his cuts and doing what he needs to do as a running back. So I think if you have him, I think feel comfortable starting him. And I think Cam Akers, I think that's going to be something that we're going to see on the injury report these next 3 or 4 weeks as the season goes on. It's probably more of a chronic issue now, unless he has some type of hit that exacerbates that injury and it kind of makes it worse. And he has to deal with a lot of pain. I think he'll start. I think he'll be fine over these next couple weeks. But obviously everything can change in one snap. So we'll have to keep an eye on him tonight. But I think that he's another good option. I think he'll be fine, ready to play. And tonight he'll be on the lineup. So I think go for either one of those. I can't give you more information on who would be better, Connor or Cam Akers. That's going to be a Nick Valletta question or a Matthew Berry question.
So the Steelers are going up against Buffalo Sunday night primetime game. I can't talk. I didn't do too well in fantasy this year, but just if you're just showing me those two names, I'm seeing I did draft Cam Akers pretty high in the draft. I think in like the 5th round, and he did nothing all year until the past couple weeks. I'd be leaning James Conner, but I'm also a Pats homer. Love the Pats and try not to start guys when they're going up against the Pats, so that way I don't have to root against them.
At least you can admit that, Nick. At least you can admit you're a Pats homer.
100% honk right here. I am just like, I mean, come on, I'll do it again.
Nice.
Well, Mark, I appreciate you joining us early on a Thursday morning to do a Thursday night football preview and a week 1 of the fantasy playoffs preview. Remember, anybody out there, if you have any questions, make sure you put them down in the comments below, and Dr. Mark and I can get to them. We'll be going live again on Monday, the weekend after, and reviewing any injuries that might have happened to see if they're going to affect you down the line in the semis or in the finals. Mark, thank you for joining us as always.
Thank you very much, Nick. Everyone have a good end to your week and have a great weekend.
Go Pats.
Go Pats. That's right. Go Pats.
Safe week. All right. Thanks, guys. See you Monday.
Peace.